Hello guys, today I'll be doing a binder update for the recently passed season 2023-24 for the Attax main collection. And this season was a pretty nice season altogether, except for a few grievances that I had that I'll share later. So let's get straight into it. First up, we have Aston Villa with the whole team completed. Douglas Luiz and John McGinn in parallel. Man City next up with quite a few standout players: Foden, Rodri, and of course Erling Haaland. And recently Julian Alvarez just left Man City. And of course they were the semi-finalists for the past season's Champions League. Next up we have my club, Arsenal, which managed to make it to the quarter-finals of the Champions League with players such as Saliba, Declan Rice, Ben White, Saka and Odegaard. And sadly, Emil Smith-Rowe is not here, both in this collection and at the time of this recording not at Arsenal anymore, with him being transferring to Fulham, so that's quite disappointing. Next up, Man U with a horrible Champions League performance, and yeah, I would say their best player right now would probably be Garnacho and Fernandes, especially Fernandes. The rest of the team hasn't really been playing up to par. Maguire has been decent for all the trolling he has been receiving. Newcastle's in the same boat as Man U, but they went out in the group stages too, but they were in the group of death, so it's not as disappointing. And their standout player is probably Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak. Next up, Liverpool. I think they're back in the Champions League this season. Quite a strong season this time around, with players like Virgil van Dijk, of course, Trent, and Mo Salah. And of course, the best finisher, Nunes. Amazing finisher, just like Anthony. Luckily, Anthony the GOAT is in this collection. Next up, West Ham United, 9th place in the Prem if I'm not wrong, and I think they went decently far in European competitions too, so I would say it's a decent season for them, which will allow them to focus more on the Prem next season, with players like Paqueta and Jarrod Bowen staying. They seem quite set, and they are also quite active in the transfer market this season, which is a good sign. Next up, we have FC Barcelona, who have players such as Lewandowski and Gavi and Pedri, who are always injured somehow. De Jong, I think, is one of their most consistent players. And yeah, no Lamine Yamal yet at this point. And next up, Real Madrid, of course, the Champions League winners. Who could have expected that? With players like Bellingham, Cruz, who just recently retired, Modric, and Vinicius Jr. And of course, the man of many positions, Camavinga. Next up, Atletico Madrid. They have also been making some decent signings like Julian Alvarez, which is quite cool and nice, yep. And they still have star players like Griezmann, if I'm not wrong, and Morata. I'm not sure if they have Morata anymore, but they seem quite set for next season too. And of course, next up it's PSG, and they lost most of their star players like Neymar, who left at the start of last season, Mbappe on the free to Real, and Rarity, who I'm not sure if he left. I'm pretty sure he did, but they don't seem as ready for the next season as the past few seasons. Next up, we have Bayern Munich, who have remarkably lost the Bundesliga this season to the invincible Bayer Leverkusen team, breaking their streak of like 10 or 11 Bundesligas in a row. But they still managed to retain some great players. Like, I'm pretty sure they still have Kimmich. Davies might be moving to Real, I'm not sure. And Musiala, of course. Next up, we have Dortmund, the other finalists for this season's Champions League, with stand-up players like Kobel, one of the best goalkeepers this past season I guess, Schlotterbeck, great defender, and Marco Reus, who recently retired too, sadly. And next up, Leipzig on this side, who just sold Dani Olmo to Barcelona at the point when I'm recording. Gvardiol, of course, left last season. Werner, I'm not sure if he's still there, might have moved to Spurs or Chelsea or someone. But their squad looks quite decent, I would say. And of course, the Invincibles this last season, Bayer Leverkusen, nearly won the treble too, with players like Florian Wirtz and Robert Andrich, the pink-haired guy in the Euro, Grimaldo, Patrick Schick, and Xhaka, who was still in, I'm pretty sure he was still in Arsenal at the time of this season's release, or maybe not. He's not anywhere in this collection. Okay, next up we have Feyenoord. I'm pretty sure they got grouped in the Champions League, I'm not sure, but yeah, they have some great players like Jimenez, great Mexican striker, and Timber, who's the brother of Jurrien Timber from Arsenal, so that's pretty sick. Next up, Eintracht Frankfurt. I don't really know too much about them, but from what I can recall, Götze is quite good, and Colomwani's at PSG right now, if I'm not wrong. And of course, Ajax, the mighty Ajax. They were so good last time, but these few seasons they have been falling off. I think their best player would probably be maybe Joro Heito, the young centre-back who's not in this collection, and Kudus, who's gone to West Ham and performed quite well. Next up, Benfica. I think they're quite set for next season too. They have quite a strong squad overall. And Porto, who have the double Pepe links, with the older Pepe just retiring yesterday at the age of 41, which is quite insane. And they have some great players too, like Diogo Costa, and I forgot who. I think it was Galeno that scored against Arsenal, almost knocking us out of the round of 16 in the Champions League. And of course, you have Sporting, Ronaldo's first club, and they seem to have a decent squad. Don't know too much about them. Next up, Real Sociedad, with players such as David Silva, former Man City player, Lee Norman, who just moved to Atletico, Mikel Moreno, probably coming to Arsenal, hopefully, and Zubimendi, who might be coming to Liverpool if I'm not wrong. Next up, Real Betis. Don't really know much about their players, but seems decent enough. And of course, we have Salzburg next, the Austrian club. I don't really know any of their players, kind of like a feeder club to RB Leipzig. So yeah, not too sure about who they have that's good. And Lazio with Ivan Provedel, the goalkeeper who scored in the Champions League, Immobile, who just left too, and Milinkovic-Savic. Next up, Inter Milan, the 22-23 finalists, I think, with players like, I'm not sure if Marcus Thuram is still there, but Martinez of course is still there, great striker, and their backline is quite strong. Bastoni, Di Marco, and Barella, quite a good midfielder too. Next up, AC Milan, with of course their amazing goalkeeper Giroud, and who just left for LA Galaxy if I'm not wrong, and also Theo Hernandez, amazing full or wing back. Okay, next up, Roma. I'm not really sure who Roma have right now. I only know that they sacked Jose Mourinho quite recently, this or last season, which is quite sad, but I think they'll be fine. Roma's decent. Juventus is up next, with former Arsenal GK Wojciech Szczesny, Bonucci, who I'm pretty sure just retired too, and Pogba, who got banned. Oh yes, and Vlahovic too. Last two teams, Celtic and Rangers, the Scottish teams, didn't really make much of an impact in either European competition, but yeah, their squad seems not that strong, but hopefully they'll perform well. Like the standout player that I know from these two teams would probably be James Tavernier. It's quite decent. Yeah. So on to the next gen with standout players like Rico Lewis, Jakob Kiwior. Who else? Zaire Emery, Matthias Tel, Sheshko, who was linked with Arsenal previously. And yeah, quite a good crop of players here. And on to the man of the match. Yes. We have KDB, Odegaard, some of the best players in the world, Salah, Pedri, Vardiol in his Leipzig kit, and of course Declan Rice. And continue on with more men of the matches like Zubimendi, Rafael Leao, and yeah, Dybala. And next up we have the cult heroes. So all these are basically legends like Robert Pires from Arsenal, Jimmy Carragher, Ronald Koeman, not as a manager though, Xabi Alonso if I'm not wrong, and Brian or Michael Laudrup, not sure. Next up, we also have the legendary moments, more of the retired players, legends, like Zidane, Rooney, Gerrard, Ronaldinho, Oliver Kahn, R9, Kluivert, Kaká, and Alan Shearer. On to the heritage cards. So this, I'm pretty sure that the heritage cards for either for 09-10 season, if I'm not wrong. And there are quite a few cool cards like Van Dijk, Toni Kroos, and too bad there are no Arsenal heritage cards, but there's still Neymar for some reason right before he left for Saudi, Timo Werner, Marco Reus, Rodri, who's quite decent too in game, Olivier Giroud, Bastoni, and also a few more on this side with the 4 tactic cards here and the exclusive and reward card to fill up the gaps in the binder to make it a smoother transition to the 100 clubs, with players like Ederson, who might be moving to Saudi, I'm not sure, John Stones, Bastoni, Rodri, Barella, Saka, Odegaard, Vini, and of course the 101 unbeatable card, Erling Haaland. And next up, this is where we have the first gap in the binder, which is quite disappointing, and that's Toni Kroos. And if you guys have any cards that I need, you can message me on Instagram, or you can comment down in the comments below. I will put my need list in the description of this video, so just go over there and take a look if you want. And of course there are players like Gabriel Jesus, Marco Reus, Giroud again, Neymar, Müller. Yeah. On to the next page. These are just like random cards, some of the rarer ones that I have in the collection. So of course we start with Camavinga Blue Lightning Limited Edition, which is one you can only get when you order from Topps online. And next we have the White Gold Jude Bellingham card, which is from one of the Match of the Day magazines. I think it was 50-50 between Bellingham and Marcus Rashford if I'm not wrong. So I'm happy to get Bellingham out of that. Next up, of course, we have the amazing Zen card, 1 in 500, Ultimate Celebration for Haaland. And it just states that he finished top goal scorer in the UCL with 12 goals, which is pretty sick. And I would say this is the crown jewel of my collection, Xavi Centurion with the 100 appearance stamp thing. It's pretty sick. Joshua Kimmich Gold Dust from the first edition multipacks, which would have been in around August or September of 2023, quite a long time ago now. And we move on to the energy cards, which I only have 3 or 4 of. Lewandowski, Tchouaméni, who I have a duplicate of, and Mbappe. So next up we move to the Squad Zone limited editions, exclusive editions from the countdown calendar. And this year the countdown calendars was quite fun, with all the quizzes inside it to guess the players. And of course, you have players like Zanetti, Bellingham, Saka, Julian Timber, who's finally returning from injury this season, Ronaldinho, KDB, and also Theo Hernandez and Barella. And of course, now we move on to the 3 limited editions, regular limited editions. So these 3 are all from the starter pack, Haaland, Vini, and the title card. And you might notice that I don't have the other limited editions in here from 4 all the way to 28, and that's simply because I'm unable to get the UK premium binder because I don't live there, and it takes about £30 for the shipping fees for the binder to get to Singapore, which I'm not really willing to pay because that's crazily overpriced. So that's one of the major problems that I have with the Attax collections. Every year I either have to spend an extra £30 to get it delivered to Singapore, or I have to make do with what space I have, which is quite annoying. But anyway, we move on to the Mega T limited editions, which are the Stadium Stars limited editions with players like Vini, Odegaard, Marco Reus, Rashford, Gavi, Musiala, Kimmich, and Barella. And on to the Artists of the Games limited editions, which are the Mini Teen limited editions with 1 legend and one current player. And I think these cards are cooler because they have a smoother kind of texture to them, which makes them feel more premium, like Ronaldinho, Zidane, R9, and of course Ballon d'Or thief Pavel Nedved, who stole it from right under the nose of Thierry Henry from Arsenal, which is quite disappointing, but it is what it is. And of course, cause I had no space, I had to throw my Sebastian Haller energy right here, because there's no space in this binder, not much space. And this last page is blank. I may shift the energies here later, but that's a problem for another day. So we're done with the bulk of the collection, but you might have noticed that I had left out a few cards, such as the limited editions and the shields. So here they are in a separate mini binder that I have. So first up, Ollie Watkins, Kolo Muani, Saka, Martinez, Guimaraes, Nunes, Paqueta, Pedri, Militao, and so on. All of them in here. John Stones, Martinez, and of course James Tavernier rounding it out. And next up we have the Chrome Shields, which I also have quite a few that I still need. I'm not sure who this is, could be Marquinhos from PSG, but I'm just glad that I managed to get Cruz and Martinelli from Arsenal. I managed to get like 4 or 5 of Martinelli somehow, which I'm not that pissed about because I'm an Arsenal fan. So if I had to get any as a duplicate, I don't mind Martinelli. Sane, Gnabry, Sula. Alright, that's basically about it. Maybe 5 or 6 shield needs in here, which is gonna be quite hard to complete, just like the energy cards, but it's all good. Managed to complete the bulk of the collection. And the last part of this video is gonna be for the first edition cards, and these cards I have no place to store them because of course the binder is too small, the ones that are selling in everywhere else except the UK. So that's really disappointing, but nonetheless you guys can just take a look at who I have: Foden, Grealish, Haaland, Varane, Van Dijk, Mukile, Kimpembe, Davies, Muller, Schlotterbeck, David Rom, Klassen, Tadic, Anderson, DiMarco, Xabi Alonso, and Patrick Kluivert. So it's quite a good set of first edition cards in that I have. And that will be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.